Okay, this video is going to be a fun one. Um, we're going to look at global variables, but we're actually going to have a look at the RPG Maker files. So I would say go and download a text editor or an IDE if you don't already have one. I would recommend Visual Studio Code, the one I use, just Visual Studio Code. It's free. Um, And since it's the one I'll be using, it means that everything will be easy enough to spot if you're trying to follow along or eventually do your own stuff, then yeah, things will be familiar. So yeah, you can pause the video if you've not already downloaded and installed something, but yeah, go ahead. So now that you've got something to look at the code with, open up the folder that your project is in. And if you have VS Code, like I do, you can right-click inside the folder and choose Open with VS Code. And it should come up with all the files just like this. And these won't be open. Don't save. Okay. So just to take a quick look through some of the more important folders here. Start with data. These are JSON files, which is just a convenient way of storing lots of data. If you click into one of them, you can see some things that will be familiar. If you click on actors, you'll see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Now, these little square brackets, this is just like the code we've done before. Little square brackets means this is an array. The content inside of here is an array. And what we are storing in the array is null, which would technically be the 0th index or a 0 position. And then we have an object. We have, well, lots of objects. So yeah, this would be one object, two objects, three objects, and so on. And it it might just look a bit confusing if it's confusing to you, because it's all on one line. But essentially, this is just something more like this. So you see, you open the object, and then you have the name and then a value, a name and then a value, name and a value. So these are the properties of the object, and these are the values. And the reason I would say it might be familiar to you is because if you scroll along a bit, actor 1 is Reed, actor 2 is Priscilla. These are the default characters which you will see the data in here. Name, nickname, initial level, max level, name, initial level. This is all just the data from the software's database. So when you change something here, which I can do, read 222, I'll go OK and save. Now if I scroll along, give it a chance to update maybe. Okay, there we go. Read 222. So it is just taking directly from this database. And so yeah, that's the first thing that is quite important. This is a good place to come and have a look if you're not sure what data you have access to via code. from the database in RPG Maker. So the next thing would just be the JS folder itself, which is Javascript. You have the main game files here, which it's fine if you don't understand any of it right now. But these work. These have their own uses. And yeah, there's no point explaining too much of it because we're going to get into it. So yeah, there's a plugins folder, which is where you'll put all your own plugins. I've just got a couple of default ones in here. Right, so I want to have a look at this. If you go to the managers.js, you should be able to scroll down or type Control F and search for create game objects. And also just look at all these. So previously we spoke about variables and I touched upon very briefly about global variables being accessible through the whole project. Well, these are just that. These are global, so they can be accessed from anywhere. Any one of these files can use these names, and then whatever is inside of them can be used. So the naming convention used here is to just prepend a $sign, and that just lets us know if we see this in the code somewhere, it's a global variable, and to be careful. You can take this off, and I'm pretty certain it will work just fine. But yeah, it's just a little signifier. It's to tell the person reading the code this is global. So let's scroll down. So first of all, the point is data actors. The code here will handle loading these data files into a usable state for us. So we don't have to use this in any way to get something usable. That's why we have these. So again, you don't need to worry about it right now. When you want to know more, you can look into it. Data actors will be filled with an object containing all this data in a usable way. So yeah, that's the data ones. The game ones are slightly different. And let's scroll down to create game objects. So let's have a look at game party. And we should see something we recognize now. So it starts with the global variable. We are making it equal to something, which is an assignment. We're saying new game party. So in one of the previous lessons, when we say new, that means it's make an instance of this class. So game party is a class, and this variable, $game party, is now an object which follows that template. So let's check out. If you are using VS Code, you can hold Control and then click on this game actors class, and it will take you straight there. Oh, wrong one actually. Not game actors. It's game party we're interested in. So yeah, let's go to game party. Here it is. I'm not going to worry too much about this stuff at the top for now. So also, don't worry about this prototype word here. I will explain what's going on. So previously we have seen something like my function, and then we've also seen adding methods to objects. And this below is essentially what we're doing here. This is a class, and we are giving it this method. See, we do it the same way here. Game party, add the prototype. Just we'll explain that in another video. Game party dot prototype dot initialize equals function, and then the curly brackets. So all of this in here is the code content of a function. See, when we take it out, it looks a lot more simple. Initialize is the function name. These are the parameters where we would pass in, say, num1, num2, etc. And the code inside just runs when you call the initialize. So we'll paste it back in just because it will break if we don't. We won't go over this right now, so don't worry about that. It's fine. So let's look at some other things that should be familiar to us. This is just setting a parameter, which is something we've covered. We say this, which is game party, and then we're setting the property of underscore gold to 0. So this is a great example of actual game terms. The party has a gold amount, and when initialize runs, it sets it to 0. And you could think of the initialize function as sort of like a constructor. Like we spoke about constructors before, where when you create a new object from a class, it will run the constructor and before anything else happens, and you can set properties and things like that. The initialize function is used in a very similar way. So as soon as someone creates a game party object, it runs initialize, and then this happens. So yeah, you set some properties. If you've used RPG Maker at all, some of these might be familiar. You have gold, you have steps. This is all related to a party. The actors within a party is initializing as an array, which is something else we've seen. So inside of here will be actor 1, actor 2, and so on. And that's how the game keeps track of who is in the party. What else should we be talking about right now? Yeah, so we've looked at the property, which is using an operator to set a value. We've looked at this, which is setting a property equal to an array. Just below, see this here. When working with prototype, you don't need to include it when you're actually calling the function. That's very important. So at this line here, it says this init all items, and it calls it just like a function. And we have seen this before. This is calling a function on a class or on an object, and it's just the one below it. GameParty.prototype.init all items is a method or a function, and this just sets the items to an empty object, weapons to an empty object, and armors to an empty object. So when we are adding different items to the party, we will most likely be manipulating these objects and adding something inside here. You don't need to worry about knowing exactly how to do these things right now. I just want to show you some of the code and how we've already gone over a lot of this stuff. We know about setting variables, we know about different types of variables, and then have a look at this exists method. This is something else that we've seen, but we haven't spoken about too much. This is a return type method, so it will return some kind of value. So if someone says game game party dot exists, then this piece of code will run and say this dot underscore actors, which is the array we created earlier. This dot length is actually a method attached to an array that says just get the length of the array. How big is this array? So if this was 111, the dot length would return 3 because there are 3 items inside this array. So what this exists does is says get the length of the actors array and return whether or not it is greater than 0. So the logic here is, are there any actors inside the party? If so, this will return the value true, the Boolean value true. If the length is not greater than 0, i.e. if it is 0 or minus, then it will return false. So there's just a bit more of what we can expect here. Yeah, from looking at the code here, you can already see the general pattern of I want to do, well, most of the time it's I want to do one thing with each method. So this is get the size, how many party members are there? This is does it exist? Is anyone in there? This initializes the items. This checks if it's empty. So when you're trying to build your own code later on, try and keep this design principle in mind of keep your methods and functions as small as you can. You don't have to make it small if it's detrimental to the code you're trying to do, but try not to be doing sort of 18 different things all within the one function. It makes bug finding a lot harder. If the problem is a function is breaking the game, well, which part of the function if it does 10, 15 different things? Um, okay, so again, this is just a brief overview. Don't let it overwhelm you. We will be going through things and changing very simple pieces to begin with. Yeah, just for fun, just to show that what we do here does actually matter. I'm going to undo all changes just to make sure this is a completely fresh document. Okay, let's find this method here, max battle members. All it does is returns 4. So if you jump into the game, oh, I should probably add a battle first. Battle processing with a goblin, and we will make it look like a monster. So we jump into battle and we have 4 people here. And just to really emphasize what we're doing here, let's add people to the party. We'll add Rosa, we'll add Priscilla. So now we have, I think, 6 people in the party. We'll run the game. Let's check. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yep, we've got 6 people. Still only 4 people in combat because of this. Max battle members 4. So let's change this to 5. As you can see, the 5th member has their portrait, it's bright, it's enabled, and only the last character is darkened, which should mean 5 members are now active. So it looks like there's only 4 right now, but let's just see what happens. We'll just keep going. See, I'm now on the 5th player, or the 5th actor. Now the UI is only set up to work with 4, so it's maybe a bad example, but there are 5 members in combat, and I'll just do that again just so you can see. Reed, attack. Michelle, attack. Casey, attack. Elliot, attack. And it's another person's turn. We have a 5th member in combat. Michelle attacks. Reed attacks. Casey attacks. Rosa attacks. So there we are. Rosa is in combat now. So there we've already managed to essentially add a plugin. It's not through a plugin, but we have manipulated the code to do something we want it to do. It wouldn't look very pretty, but if someone wanted to package this up, then release it, then okay. You probably would want to edit the UI so that it fits 5 people, but that's whatever. So here's another tip. We don't want to be altering these base files at all. You just don't. If you ever update RPG Maker, the chances are your changes could be overwritten themselves. It could revert or change to an updated version or something. So I think in the next video we'll go over how to create our own overwrites and maybe even go over aliasing, which is a way of not completely overwriting what's already there, but adding to it instead. But before we finish this video, let's scroll down to here where we've got gold, gain gold, and lose gold. So the first one is just dot gold. And what it does is returns the property gold, this dot gold. So how would you would use this? If we look back here, this is the variable, so this is how we access everything in game party. So it's $ game party, and then when you're trying to use these, remember you don't have to type prototype. You only type prototype if you're adding something to the class. So you would do game party dot gold, and then remember to open and close these brackets, because that's how you call a function or a method. So this here is a piece of code that will spit out how much gold the party has. So just to show you again, let's go here, we'll talk to this guy, do a script command, and we will run exactly that, game party.gold. But before that, we probably want to have someone that gives us gold. So we'll change gold here. So each time you talk to him, you get 300. So at the moment it's 0. Talk to him. We've got 300. And what did I do? Oh yeah, we actually should be alerting this out. So we go 0, we got no gold. talk to him. We got 300, 300, 600, 900. So this is how we access the global variables within the game. But what if you don't want to? What if you don't want to, or maybe you're in a script or a plugin and you can't add gold via the builder like this, the event builder? Say we don't have that. Well, that's where these functions come in. Gain gold, we can use that in the same way we've used gold, but we have one parameter we must pass in now, amount. So gain gold, what this does is it sets the value of this parameter with the equal sign. It says this gold is equal to what is currently here plus the amount that you pass in. So if gold is 0 and you pass in an amount of 10, it's 0 plus 10 and then just applies it. Now the clamp, this is just a piece of maths, I guess. It's a mathematic function. Clamp says make sure the value here, this is less relevant right now, but if you want to learn it, fine. Clamp says whatever value is within these brackets, it must be between 0 and this function which returns a maximum gold amount. So it's between 0 and 9999999. So if this wasn't here, it works almost exactly the same way. It will still add up the gold, but once you get to maximum gold, it will just keep going. So that's why they've got this here. And also you can't have a negative amount of gold if you try to always reduce the gold. So that's why it clamps it between nothing and the maximum. So anyway, we can come here and say game party using the global variable, gain gold, and then pass an amount. Say we only want to add 50. We can do it here. And then this will still alert us to the amount of gold. So let's say talk to this guy. And we have 50. We can just keep talking. 200, 250, 250, 300. So yeah, and just so we're clear on this, this is an object. We're using the dot notation like we did before, and then we are calling this method or function that is on the object with the brackets and passing in a parameter. So it's exactly the same as what we saw before. Let my object equal this thing, and then my object dot gain gold equals a function with parameters. Yep, that's all we're doing. And here would be amount, and then we'll say like this dot gold plus equals amount. You see that this is all stuff that we've been working with. It's just some of it is slightly differently written. The syntax is a little bit different with the prototype in between and stuff. But yeah, we're getting there. So yeah, of course, we don't need to test it, but you can do the same thing with lose gold. You can just say lose gold, put in an amount, and it works exactly the same way. And funnily enough, all this is doing, lose gold just calls gain gold, but makes it minus. So if you pass in 50 here, you gain 50. If you pass in 50 here, it says make that minus 50. We are gaining minus 50. And if you know mathematics, if you plus a minus, it just takes away minus. So yeah, we've covered quite a lot here, especially with getting into the code base. I really hope it's still not daunting. I hope it's more fun than it is daunting because there is a lot here. There is a lot, so many different different function calls, a lot of different notation and things, it's fine though. You take it chunk by chunk, and you just learn as you go. And a lot of it is self-explanatory. Like if you just happen to find this game party class, what would you assume it handles? Well, it's the party. And if you found this gold function and that it returns a variable called gold, you can assume that it just returns a value that it's the gold. Gain gold, lose gold, max gold. Not all of it will make perfect sense right away, but some of it is pretty self-explanatory. There's gain item. You pass in an item, the amount of items to gain, and yeah, include equip is a weird one. This is oh, you know what? I don't want to muddy the water, but I think this is so you can lose an item as well by doing gain item. So if you say pass in an item -1, as in I want to lose an item, then you can say should I include the equipment, which is I think an option in here. Let's say change weapons, decrease, include equipment. There we go. So this little box here, you pass in a weapon, you say increase or decrease, and then you have the amount and should it include equipment. You got gain item, you've got the item to pass in, you've got the amount of items, and you've got should equipment be included. It's very similar. It's very similar to the stuff you'll see in the database. But yeah, this video is probably long enough. The next one, we will create our own file and I'll show you how to overwrite the proper way and also adding the proper way. So thanks for watching.